All right. So, welcome to week two, and we want to be covering quite a bit of material here today. Okay, I'm going to try to keep the video as short as possible, but at the same time, go over as much as we can without overwhelming you. I know the material that I'm going to be talking about today might be a little bit difficult. You might have to watch this video 2 or 3 times, but that's okay because it's a video. You can always rewind and play as much as you want. All right. So now, as you're going into probably the volume course by now, you're learning more on why certain pairs and certain trades should be taken over others, right? But in this advanced course, we're more geared and focused on how to take these trades, right? So now, for the longest time, going in and out of the elite community, talking to students in person and online and stuff like that, I've been realizing there's a lot of confusion and concerns around the test part. Okay, the test part. It's like, what is this test? How many tests? Is it 1 test, 2 tests, 10 tests, 20 tests? How many? This demon tests. So we're always looking for that answer. It's like, how the hell do we figure this out? So I'm gonna explain it to you as slowly as possible. There's many variations, and the goal is not to remember all the variations. The goal is to understand why. Okay, it's always the why. Okay, it's always the why. All right. So first things first, let's do this. So let's say we're looking at this in terms of a downtrend. I'm going to draw it right now. Here we go. So we have a downtrend. In this downtrend, we have a pullback coming in, rubber band man. All right. And then we get a V formation. Okay. Now, at this moment, I'm sure 90% of you guys are saying, yep, I can see it. We got a V formation. All right, we got a nice downtrend pullback V formation. But here's the thing. I want you to always know, do you realize why I talk about V formation twice? Now, what do you like when I mean twice? I mean I talk about V formations in the MPA, but I also bring it up again in the 4-course bundle. Like, why am I talking about V formations so regularly like that? Why is it so important? Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you guys right now are saying, well, it's a sign of the big boy coming back, it's the rubber band man dying, etc., etc., etc. And those are all correct. However, there is mistakes that I've been noticing a lot of people saying, doing this, thinking, well, that's my V. This looks like maybe that might be my test. Oh, that's not my V. I guess it's trying to do a deeper pullback. You see, so the question comes is that a V formation or not? And then this happens. Well, how do you know this is a V formation? How do you know it's not going to do this? Right? So, obviously, with the volumes and everything, they're going to tell you on the reasons why and all that stuff. But over here, I'm going to show you on how to understand it. Let's assume you don't even know anything about volume so far, and you're just purely looking at this, trying to understand and grasp the knowledge of, okay, I need to know where my V is first. I have to know that information before I can even get into the test phase. Okay, so the V, the V is simply the idea and notion of it is the larger player's return. If the larger player is returning, price shouldn't come and challenge this. It should not. Okay? So to understand a V, to understand a test, you must remember this. You need a range. It's important, it is mandatory. Ranges, congestions. Now, what kind of ranges and congestions? They can look like this, which are nice and sideways. They can look like a channel, like that. They can look like squeezes, like triangular based, like that, right? So they can look all kinds of stuff, basically trying to tell you it cannot go in so smoothly. Okay, so to confirm that this is a V formation, what we need is something that says, okay, he wasn't able to go high, but we don't know anything yet. Stand by. Oh, what if that's my test too? No, stand by. We don't know anything yet. Not until we see one of these three patterns. Okay, we need some kind of consolidation. Okay, now we can say, yes, it is confirmed. That is now officially my V formation because a test is building up. Because the logic of, yes, the big boy is back, that's why we have the test. Okay, so sometimes you might not even know it's a V until you get the test. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm sure many of you guys are having aha moments right now. Some of you guys are having nice little good recaps on this stuff, but this is very important. Okay, a range always is when the big boy comes back and builds his position. A big boy does not build his position on this. He builds his position in something like this, where it's not easy to see. It's not easy to see. The V formation is basically the big boy hit it too hard. That's why the sellers came so hard back and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't mean to do it that hard. I still have a lot of positions to fill. So when the market goes into a range, he can quietly do it without giving away his position. Okay, does that make sense? It's like suddenly he's hiding in the bushes again and slowly taking all the orders, because he can't hit it in a large lot size. Otherwise, it will drop down again very hardly, and he might get a fill over here, and that's a really bad price. He doesn't want that price. He wants a price high as possible. Does that make sense? Okay. So having that said, now let's take a look at this in terms of, so we have our confirmed V. Okay, let's say that's our V, and we know that because this happens. Now, I'm going to explain to you on how I personally look at tests. Now, wait, before you judge me, I'm going to explain to you how and why, and you're going to get a better idea of, oh, okay, now I understand how he sees it. Okay, I look at this whole thing as my test one or a set one, I call it. Okay, test one or set one. Now, let me explain. So after I know it's my V, I get my sort of test one coming in. I want to see this thing fail like that. Like test one was going up, making higher high, higher lows. You can see the struggle was there. It's unable to go and make a higher high compared to that price. And then he comes down. Okay? Once this whole angle starts to break, once that whole angle starts to break, and then prices go up again and they make higher high sequences, that I look at it as, that's my test 2 or my set 2. Okay, I am more interested in getting in these spots. It almost looks like, oh, okay, if I look at it from a faraway distance, I can see my test 1 and test 2. If I just take a step back from my monitor, I can see it. Because this is the V, and everything else is a struggle to go higher. Make sense? What I personally do is I say, forget reading the entire left-hand side. Let it take its time up until here. Let him do whatever he wants. Okay? I'm more interested in when I get a secondary move up, and as a secondary move up is going, I'm more interested in selling that. Now, let's get into some variations. Okay, as I talk about the different variations, it's gonna make a little bit more sense of, okay, I get the logic. I understand now. It will make a little bit more sense. Here we go. Same scenario, downtrend. Sorry, really downtrend. Okay. Got a nice move up. We got a nice V formation. We're not sure it's a V formation. Not yet. It wasn't a V formation. Good. Stand by. Oh. I don't know if that's a V formation because it looks like it came back only 60%. Okay. Okay. Looks like that is a V formation because maybe that was a probe. Okay. Well, now with that logic, this range confirms it. Okay, this congestion confirms it. Now, if this range, which we generally call test 1, just the one just after the V formation, right? If the test 1 is able to do this, like he's able to make lower lows from, the V formation spot. If he's able to make lower lows, it's now lopsided. It means the big boy is very aggressive and in a rush. If he's aggressive and in a rush, my test 2, I'm going to get somewhere around these lines of support and resistance. Okay, maybe even get up to here. But the chances of getting up higher than my test 1s are low. Okay, it's not that it does not happen, it's just low. Okay, so the prices are going to leave from here because now we can read the desperation. A normal design, okay, so this is one of the variations. So a normal design is simply this. Okay, this will normally is this design where you have your ranges, and then he finally starts to come down, make lower lows, but he doesn't make a lower low from this, from the V formation guy. And since he doesn't do that, now my test 2 is going to challenge this highest point of test 1 because that's where all the stop losses are. Okay, so prices are going to go try to get up to that same height, if not try to spike it and then come back down. Okay, and then the game gets ready again. Okay. All right, is that starting to make sense? Now do you see it? Now, it's not, wait, Naveen, how many candles are here? Naveen, how many candles are here exactly? I need to know exactly. You must tell me exactly. I hope I don't get any of those questions at this level. Okay? If you ask those questions, I will obviously answer them, but I will also feel sad that we're getting these questions at this level. You should know that the market needs to develop the way it needs to develop. All we are interested in is, are they making a higher high compared to the V formation, and is there a struggle following the V formation? That is the main concern. Okay, it is not a concern of, well, too much time has gone by, so it's dead. It needs to be exactly 3 candles. None of that stuff is not correct. You should never be thinking like that. Okay, again, if you have that problem and you ask that question, it's okay, I will answer it. But the main point is try to understand the logic behind it. Okay, it is not super strict when it comes to price action. Okay, it's not like volume, right? Price action is not very strict in this is exactly how it's going to be. There's variations around the designs and what the big boy is trying to do. Because he himself, right? Let me show you here. The big boy himself this is what's going to happen. If the markets are pulling back like this, and there's $500 million, okay? Let's just say $500 for the sake of example. $500 are buying. But then he hits it, okay? It's buying, but then he hits it for $2,000. Okay, now $2,000 suddenly jumps down like that. Whoa. And the big boy's like, oh no. Let me buy it back some. Because now I only got 500 filled and the market drops so much because I have such a large order. Right? So I have to lower my price to find more buyers. So once he just says, okay, stop. I'm not going to sell anymore, stand by. And as prices come back up, he himself is trying to fill in his orders. Okay, so if he himself does not know at what moment is the market gonna go crazy emotional and start buying, then how can we know for sure it's exactly 3 candles or exactly 5 candles or exactly this design we can never use that word exactly because the big boy himself is trying to figure it out live. He's trying to understand the flow live. Okay? So you must do the same thing as well. Flow like water. Understand what he's trying to do. Okay? So the main point is obviously don't worry about these numbers. That's not the main concern here. But the concern is try to understand why the test happened. So to do a recap, one, make sure, really bad one, make sure your V's are accompanied by ranges. Okay. Wow, why is the drawings going really bad now? Okay. Ranges. You get the idea. Okay. Ranges or congestion. Doesn't have to be flat ranges, can be channels, can be triangles. The next thing. Okay. I personally like to trade test 1. Why do I like to trade test 1? Because sometimes test 1 goes and becomes lopsided or aggressive. He breaks the lows, and then test 2 can only get up to this high. So that's, for me, is trade number 1. Test 1 is trade number 1. I can get one trade out of that, especially if I only have a test 1 and the market is opening. Okay, but if test 1 comes only till down here and it struggles and it starts to go up again, I will have to scratch that, and then test 2 will try to come up to the equal price or try to make a higher high, and then I have my trade number 2. Because now maybe the next session is open, but if they're not open, you can pretty much expect this test to hang around this area until the market does open. Okay, so a few things you want to keep in track, all these little details you want to keep in track. Okay, the objective is V formation here, and all the tests surrounding it is showing you struggle, 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 struggle. And depending on if test 1 is lopsided or not, you can get an idea of what test 2 is going to do. Okay, if test 1 cannot break the lows right here, if he cannot break the lows, then test 2 is almost expected as high as test 1, if not a spike higher. Okay, because that's where all the stop losses are. So I hope this entire lesson made sense. I try to explain it as slow as possible. I know you're gonna have questions. I know you're gonna have to rewatch this over and over again, but I know you can do it as well. Okay, I haven't yet come across any one individual that suddenly one day watched my videos and says, I don't get it. I have yet to come across that person. So I know you'll understand it, and if you rewatch it again, put in the work, you'll be better at it. And over the next week and a half, I will come back with the next lesson to touch base a little bit more on this, give you some more examples around this, and then we'll see how well you can do it. Sorry to make the video very long, but I do really want to get this information out there because there's a lot of confusion around this of why is it testing? How many tests do I need? Where is it gonna go to? Where is it not gonna go to? How many candles are required in a test? So all these questions, now obviously the answer is always it depends. Now you understand why I like to use that word, it depends. So going forward, keep all these things in mind. Okay, until next time, I'll see you guys in probably a week and a half to 2 weeks before the next lesson. Cheers.